Chapter 4. The one night stand that stretched too far. Jacob hadn't known Clara long, but she had that kind of presence that folded you into her orbit quickly. She spoke with her hands, laughed with her chest, and carried herself like someone who had already survived more than she cared to admit. Then met by chance on a late-night diner at the edge of downtown. The kind of place that smelled greasy and nostalgic at the same time. She was scribbling on a napkin, muttering to herself under her breath at her phone as she was texting. And well, Jacob offered her a pen. It seemed like hers had stopped working for a long time. She looked up and grinned and told him, "A pen isn't going to fix this mess. Maybe it stopped working for that reason." But she took it with his hand stretched out. He seemed like a savior. That was Clara, sharp, quick, self-deprecating, but somehow also luminous, even under fluorescent lights. By the end of that night, they were swapping stories like old friends. Clara talked fast, like the words would burn her tongue if she held them too long. She told him about the family back home, about the string of almost careers she'd abandoned, and eventually about the man she was seeing, or rather, couldn't stop seeing. "It's not even a relationship anymore," she confessed, one evening a week later, as they walked along the promenade, close to the river. By the time they got to the water, caught fragments of neon from the city, broken colors bending with the current. It's inertia. We started casual, then it turned into comfort. Oh, it's like babysitting his feelings. Jacob shoved his hand deeper into his pocket, "So why don't you just end it?" Clara laughed, bitter and sharp. "I've tried twice. Times that by 3 times. If you count the drunken text I sent in at least, I don't recall when, but probably like a month ago. He doesn't hear it. He just keeps showing up. Shows up with takeaway at the steps of my door and acts like nothing happened. Like I didn't say the word, it was over. Do you know how suffocating it feels to break up with someone who refused to break? He did. He understood. Maybe not in the same way, but he knew the weight of overstaying, of clinging when love had already packed its bags. He'd been both the prisoner and the jailer, both the bailee and the bailer. That memory was sat heavy in his stomach. Clara kicked a pebble, sending it skeeting over the pavement, so I cheated on him. Jacob didn't flinch. He studied her face instead. The set jaw, the flicker defiance, softening into the shame. "How come?" "Because I need proof I wasn't stuck, that I could still move, that I could still feel something that was an obligation. It wasn't even about him, the other guy. It was just me, clawing for air, gasping, reaching to get out of being stuck." She stopped walking, her arms crossed tight across her chest. "I know it sounds pathetic, but for one night at least, I felt like myself again. I felt free." Jacob's voice was calm. "It doesn't sound pathetic at all. It sounds like you're human." Her eyes flicked toward him, searching. "So, what now? You still here? Still clinging, and now I've made it worse. If he finds out, it'll break him. If it doesn't, well, it'll keep living with me. Not eating at me, but I'm still human. I guess I didn't really cheat. I moved on." They sat on the bench by the river, the city humming in the distance, and like an old refrigerator. Clara lit a cigarette, its glow sharp in the dark. Jacob watched the smoke curl toward up, dissolving in the night sky. Sometimes, he said, we trick ourselves into thinking the only way out is through destruction. You know, burn the boats, burn the house down, don't look back, so that we have nothing else to come back for. Clara smirked. You sound like a poet who moonlights as a therapist, or a therapist who moonlights as a poet, Jacob replied. Her smirk cracked into a smile, then softer. You ever done it? Cheated? Or just moved on? He didn't answer right away. He meditated. He chewed on the question. Memories brushed against him like the cold fingers and movements of temptation, the edge of confession never spoken. Finally, he did say something, and he replied, no, but I wanted to. Wanted to exit more than the thrill. I've been called a cheater, though. Clara blew out more smoke. Yeah, that's exactly it. It's not even thrilling. It's just necessary sometimes. You're lucky that you didn't. It's a weight on you, but it seems like the weight was put on you either way, so you might as well have. Over the next week, Clara leaned on Jacob like a lifeline. They met in coffee shops, parks, quiet corners of libraries where she claimed she was hiding from her own life. Each time she unraveled a little bit more. Stories became into books. Books were no longer chapters. They became series. It became episodes of her life. She told him about the man she couldn't shake. His name was Aaron. And he was nice, too nice. The kind of man who, bought groceries for her fridge and without being asked, or fixed a leaky faucet without complaint, who texted good morning every single day, and good night like it was clockwork. But also, nice enough that she said one afternoon, stringing her untouched coffee near her lips, nice is heavy when it's the only thing that's left. And you don't really want to be nice to this person. You just want to know them like the 7 billion other people on Earth. Jacob nodded. Nice can become a cage. It's hard to walk away without looking like the villain. Exactly, she whispered, almost relieved like he understood. I don't want to be cruel, but every time he smiles at me, I feel this weight pressing harder. Jacob leaned forward. Then maybe the kindest thing you can do is be cruel. Just once, instead of dying slowly under his kindness. Clara stared up at him with her eyes. That's dark. Jacob looked at her and said, but it's honest. She sat back, letting those words settle. Honest cruelty, clean and final. That was his philosophy, though he hadn't always named it like that. Endings were wounds, but festering wounds killed slower, don't they? The next time they met, Clara was lighter, as if it were allowed that she had been loosened from a noose around her neck. Something inside her was now relieved. It was the weight of the world. She was no longer Hercules. But yet she hadn't done it. Aaron was still around, still hovering. She admitted she had just the other night met a man again. It was complicated and messy, but she felt alive. She did the unthinkable. She slept with him. You ever heard the song? She asked Jacob one evening. They sat outside a bar, the neon buzz overhead mixing the murmur of strangers, me and Mr. Jones. It's an old soul track about sneaking around, knowing it's wrong, but doing it anyway. Jacob nodded. Yeah, Billy Paul. Yeah, she said, smiling, firmly, faintly. I guess I'm Mr. Jones. Or Mrs. Who knows with this gender fluid generation of ours. I'm just playing both sides, I guess. They went quiet, the words hanging heavier than the smoke drifting from the bar door. Jacob's head, the melody of the song, unfurled, how low and aching. Feels less like a soundtrack and more like a mirror, showing how people justified what they couldn't bear to confront. Clara tapped ash into the sidewalk. I know I can't live like this forever. I just don't know what I have to do. It's just so cruel. Jacob didn't press her. He never told people what they wanted to hear. Since it had happened to him, he only told them that what was left after the noise. Sometimes the truth is the knife. Sometimes it's only the way to cut through it, to get to freedom. She nodded slowly, her eyes and unshed tears. And for the first time since he'd met her, Clara didn't talk fast. She just sat there, listening to the echo of a song neither of them had put on before, but both could hear. Me and Mr. Jones.